Could Donald Trump be a great president? He's the most controversial, most talked about, and most hated president in modern history. His supporters see him as a fighter, a businessman, and a man of action. His critics call him dangerous, decisive, and unfit to lead. But love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable. Trump is one of the most powerful leaders in the world. He didn't just win an election, he changed politics forever. Despite 2 impeachments, endless investigations, and relentless media attacks, Trump never backed down. At 78 years old, around the same age as my grandpa, he is still standing, still fighting, and still shaping America's future. And now, against all odds, Trump is back in the White House. Within just weeks of his second term, he has signed dozens of executive orders, revived the stock markets, asserted America's dominance on the world stage, restored free speech online, tightened the border and reshaped immigration laws, declared a stance on global conflicts, pushing back against big tech and media control, and he's just getting started. Many say he might not be the best president, but he is definitely one of the greatest. And here's why. So, what makes him one of the greatest presidents ever? Today, we will break it down. Now, let's talk about the Trump efforts. Donald Trump wasn't supposed to win the first time. In 2016, he shocked the world, proving that an outsider with no political background could take on establishments and win. The media, the elites, and even members of his own party doubted him. Yet, against all odds, he delivered. Then came 2024, and he did it again. After being impeached twice, investigated and endlessly and relentlessly attacked, Trump stood firm. He didn't just survive, he came back stronger. While others could have retreated, he doubled down, rallying millions who believe America needed him back. His presidency has never been just about policies. It's about breaking the system, reshaping power, and proving that an outsider can run America better than career politicians. He defies the rules of Washington, exposed corruption, and rewrote the playbook on leadership. And now, in just a few weeks since returning to office, Trump has already done more than most presidents do in years. He wasted no time signing executive orders, making decisive moves on the economy, and reaffirming America's position on the world stage. Some say he is dangerous, that his leadership style is too aggressive, too unpredictable. Others said he's the best thing to happen to America, a fighter who isn't afraid to take action. But one thing is undeniable, Trump is making history again. On the morning of January 20th, as Donald Trump placed his hand on the Bible and took the oath of office for his second term, something remarkable was happening. The stock market was already reacting. Within days of his inauguration, the stock markets skyrocketed. Investors, business owners, and everyday Americans with 401ks and retirement accounts watched as the number climbed at an astonishing rate. But why did this happen? The answer is simple: confidence. For months leading up to the election, uncertainty loomed over Wall Street. Businesses were struggling with high corporate taxes, over-regulation, and a slow economic recovery. The stock markets fluctuated, and investors hesitated to make big moves. But the moment Trump was declared the winner, markets surged. Why? Because they knew exactly what was coming: pro-business policies, tax cuts, and America First economy. Trump wasted no time. Within his first week back in office, he signed executive orders rolling back business regulations that had been stifling companies. He made it clear corporate taxes would stay low, unnecessary regulations would be cut, the American economy was open for business. That sent a clear message to Wall Street. Growth was coming. Investors poured money back into stocks. Companies started hiring again, leading to job growth. 401ks and retirement funds began recovery almost instantly. By the end of Trump's first month back in office, the Dow Jones Industrial Average hit record highs. Consumer confidence soared, and the business started expanding again. This wasn't just hype, it was the Trump effect. Whenever Trump is in office, Wall Street wins. One of the biggest concerns for Americans in recent years has been gas prices. Under the previous administration, gas prices had skyrocketed, hitting some of the highest levels in history. The cost of filling up a tank was draining people's wallets, leading to higher prices for everything: groceries, shipping, and household goods. So what did Trump do about it? One of his very first moves as president was to sign an executive order lifting restrictions on domestic oil drilling, pipeline construction, and energy production. For years, the U.S. has been dependent on foreign oil, relying on countries like Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Russia. Trump ended that dependence. His policies unleashed American energy dominance, allowing more oil drilling in the U.S., the reopening of pipelines like Keystone XL and the other that had been shut down, a return to energy dependence, and the results, they were immediate. Within just a few weeks, gas prices started to drop, oil production increased, the U.S. became a net exporter of energy again. By the time his policies were in full effect, America was no longer begging OPEC nations to lower prices because we didn't need them anymore. Trump had restored energy independence, something that not only saved Americans money, but also strengthened national security. Because when you control your own energy supply, you control your own future. These two stories, the stock market surge and the return to energy independence, are perfect examples of how Trump's leadership directly impacts the lives of everyday Americans. When businesses feel confidence, they hire more people. When energy prices stay low, the cost of living goes down. This wasn't luck, it was policy. And this was only the beginning of Trump's second-term impact. For years, social media giants like Facebook, Twitter, now X, and YouTube controlled the online narrative. They decided who could speak, what could be said, and which opinions were acceptable. During Trump's first term, we saw widespread censorship, accounts were banned, posts were removed, and major news stories were suppressed, often favoring one political ideology over another. The governments, in coordination with big tech, had the power to silence voices they didn't like. Then came Trump's second term. Everything changed. Within days of returning to office, Trump made free speech a priority. He signed an executive order that sent a clear message. Social media companies must respect free speech. No more selective censorship, no more shadow bans, and no more political motivated removals of content. Government agencies can no longer collude with tech companies to suppress opinions. It was revealed in past investigations that the governments had pressured platforms to remove specific posts and ban individuals who questioned certain policies. Trump put a stop to it. Major bans and restrictions were lifted. Accounts that had been suspended for expressing political views were reinstated. People who had been permanently banned for misinformation suddenly found themselves free to speak again. This wasn't about politics, it was about fundamental rights. For the first time in years, Americans were able to voice their opinions online without fear of being deplatformed, demonetized, or silenced. The internet was once again a place for debate, discussion, and free expression. This was one of Trump's biggest victories, restoring the First Amendment in the digital age. The U.S.-Mexico border has been one of the most debated topics in American politics. For years, border security fluctuated, with policies changing from administration to administration. Under Trump's first term, the border was a top priority. He built sections of the border wall, enforced strict immigration laws, and strengthened deportation policies for criminal offenders. But when he left office, many of those policies were reversed. Border wall construction was halted. Illegal crossings surged to record numbers. Law enforcement was overwhelmed. By 2023, cities across America were struggling to deal with an unprecedented migrant crisis. So, when Trump returned to office, he wasted no time. Within days, he took bold actions. Border wall construction resumed. projects that had been abandoned were restarted, and additional funding was approved to complete unfinished sections. Deportations of illegal criminals increased. Trump made it clear those who enter illegally and commit crimes would be swiftly deported. He reinstated partnerships with local law enforcement to assist in identifying and removing dangerous offenders. Massive changes to asylum laws. No more catch and release. Trump's administration tightened asylum policies, requiring applicants to seek refuge in the first state country instead of using loopholes to enter the U.S. A record number of Border Patrol agents deployed. Trump's expanded the force, ensuring more boots were on the ground to secure the border and stop illegal crossings. This impact was immediate. Illegal border crossing plummeted as word spread that the old loopholes were gone. Smuggling operations were disrupted. The law enforcement had the supports and resources they needed to take control of the crisis. But this wasn't just about stopping illegal immigration. It was about national security. By enforcing strict border policies, Trump protected American cities, reduced crime, and restored order to what had become a chaotic situation. This was a promise kept, and it was only the beginning. The two bold actions, restoring free speech and securing the border, defining Trump's leadership. When he sees a problem, he takes immediate action. No waiting for endless debates, no backing down due to political pressure, no letting others dictate the narrative. He reshaped the landscape of digital rights and national security within weeks of returning to the White House, and the world took notice. When Trump took office for his second term, the world was in chaos. Wars were breaking out, nations were on edge, and America's position on the global stage had weakened. The Middle East was unstable, tensions with Russia and China were growing, and Europe was dealing with security concerns that threatened to spiral out of control. The world was waiting to see what Trump would do, and he didn't keep them waiting. From day one, Trump took control. He brokered new diplomatic agreements, reaching out to world leaders to de-escalate conflicts while reaffirming America's commitments to peace through strength. He sent clear warnings to nations threatening U.S. security, whether it was adversaries in the Middle East, rogue regimes testing America's patience, or global superpowers trying to gain leverage. Trump made it very clear. America would not be pushed around. He positioned America as a leader, not a follower, moving away from weak foreign policy approaches that left the U.S. reacting instead of leading. The result? The world took notice. One of the most critical moves Trump made was restoring America's credibility in global diplomacy. In past years, some world leaders viewed the U.S. as hesitant, uncertain, and even weak. Trump flipped that narrative. When a Middle Eastern conflict escalated, Trump didn't hesitate. He immediately brokered talks and pushed for solutions that protected U.S. interests while preventing further escalation. When China threatened Taiwan, Trump made it clear that any aggression would have severe consequences, reminding the world that America's allies will not be abandoned. When Russia continued military actions, Trump approached the situation with tough diplomacy, reminding the Kremlin that America's position was firm, and strength was the only language they understood. Under Trump's leadership, America was no longer reacting to global events, it was shaping them. The phrase peace through strength was not just a slogan, it became policy. When Trump speaks, nation listens. For decades, America footed the bill for NATO, spending hundreds of billions of dollars defending countries that barely contributed to their own security. Trump had enough. During his first term, he called out NATO allies for failing to meet their defense spending obligations, a move that shocked global leaders but ultimately forced them to pay up. When he returned to office, Trump doubled down. He reminded NATO allies that America would no longer be the world's ATM. If they wanted U.S. protection, they needed to take their own security seriously. Countries increased their military spending. Not just because they were pressured, but because they saw that Trump wasn't bluffing. NATO members committed billions to strengthening their own defenses. The U.S. secured stronger commitments from allies, reinforcing America's global partnerships while ensuring the country wasn't bearing the financial burden alone. Tougher negotiations with China, Russia, and the Middle East. Trump made it clear that while America was open to diplomacy, it would always negotiate from a position of strength. Again, the impact was immediate. European allies began increasing their military capabilities, realizing that the days of relying on the U.S. defense without contribution were over. China took a step back, understanding that Trump's trade and military policies would not allow them to gain unchecked global influence. Russia was forced to reconsider its aggressive stance, knowing that Trump's administration would not tolerate threats to American interests. America was no longer playing defense, it was leading the game. Under Trump's leadership, the U.S. reclaimed its position as the strongest force on the global stage. These two moves, reasserting American leadership and forcing NATO allies to step up, show exactly how Trump changed foreign policy. No more weak diplomacy. No more paying for other countries while they do nothing. No more America taking a back seat on global issues. Trump didn't just talk tough, he backed it up with action. And for the first time in years, America was respected again. From the moment Donald Trump announced his first campaign in 2015, the media declared war on him. They called him a joke, a reality TV star, and a disaster waiting to happen. They laughed at the idea of him becoming president, but when he won in 2016, the laughter stopped. And the attacks intensified. For 4 years, Trump endured relentless media attacks. Every speech, every policy decision, and every word he said was twisted, exaggerated, or taken out of context. Headlines screamed, "Trump is a Russian agent. Trump is a fascist. Trump is destroying democracy." Despite all of this, Trump did something no politician had ever done before. He fought back. Instead of playing by Washington's rules, where politicians carefully craft statements to please journalists, Trump went around them. He called out media corruption live in real time. He exposed how journalists pushed false narratives, how news outlets buried important stories, and how the media was working as an arm of political opposition. He exposed political lies. He challenged the so-called fact-checkers, forcing Americans to question who was really controlling the information they received. He communicated directly to the people. He bypassed the mainstream media entirely, using Twitter, now X, Truth Social, and rallies to speak directly to his supporters, uncensored and unfiltered. And the media hated him for it. They tried to silence him, banning him from social media, refusing to cover his rallies, and labeling everything he said as misinformation. But none of it worked. Trump didn't disappear. His voice only grew stronger. By the time he won his second term, the media was exhausted. They had thrown everything at him. Yet he was still there. Like him or not, he is the most powerful voice in modern politics. Most politicians wouldn't survive one impeachment. Trump, he survived too. In fact, he didn't just survive, he came back stronger. The attacks against Trump weren't like anything seen in American politics. They tried to destroy his business. Lawsuit investigation and financial scrutiny piled up in the moments that he entered office, locked him up. They launched multiple criminal investigations, digging through every aspect of his life, from taxes to business deals, block him from running again. After losing in 2020, his enemies did everything possible to ensure he never returned to power, but nothing stopped him. Instead of retreating, Trump fought back harder. When they accused him of collusion with Russia, he proved that allegations were fabricated. When they impeached him twice, he was acquitted both times. When they censored him online, he built his own platform. And when they thought they had finally beaten him in 2020, he came rolling back in 2024, stronger than ever. His enemies threw everything at him: the media, the political establishment, the justice system, but Trump is still still here because no matter how much they hate him, fear him, or try to destroy him, Donald Trump refuses to lose. So, these two stories, his battle against the media and his ability to survive everything thrown at him, show exactly why Trump is different from every other political figure. Most politicians cave under pressure. Most politicians play by the rules. Most politicians fear bad headlines. Trump, he fights back. And that's why he's not just a president, he's a movement. Most presidents ease into their role after taking office, spending months planning and negotiating before making major moves. Trump, he hit the ground running. Within weeks of his second term, he signed more executive orders than any modern president in history. And these weren't just symbolic gestures. They were real, impactful changes that immediately started reshaping America. So what did he do? New immigration policies. Trump reinstated his strict border security measures, fast-tracking deportations, increasing Border Patrol staffing, and resuming construction of the border wall. Business deregulation laws. He slashed bureaucratic red tape, making it easier for small businesses to grow, entrepreneurs to thrive, and corporations to reinvest in America. Foreign policy adjustment. He took a bold stance on global conflicts, securing diplomatic agreements, re-establishing America's dominance on the world stage, and ensuring that U.S. interests were protected first. Executive actions to restructure government agencies. Trump reshaped federal agencies, cutting inefficiencies, removing unnecessary oversight, and consolidating executive power to make sure his administration could move fast. And he did all of this within weeks. This wasn't just about speed, it was about efficiency. Trump ran the country like a business, making decisions quickly and effectively rather than getting stuck in Washington's endless bureaucracy. How did this compare to past presidents? Well, historically, many presidents have used executive orders sparingly, often waiting months or years before making major policy shifts. Trump, he set the pace from day one. No modern president had ever moved this fast, and whether people agreed with him or not, everyone knew one thing: Trump wasn't here to waste time. If there's one thing that defines Donald Trump, it's his ability to think ahead. He isn't just focused on what happens today. He's shaping the next 4 years and laying the groundwork for political legacy, and that will last long beyond his presidency. So what's next on his agenda? Tax cuts are returning. Trump is working on a new round of tax cuts, reducing the burden of middle-class families and small businesses, stimulating the economy, and ensuring that more money stays in the hands of American people. America's military is strengthening. With global tensions at all-time high, Trump is rebuilding and modernizing the U.S. military, ensuring that America remains the strongest force in the world. The economy is booming, with deregulation, tax cuts, and a focus on American energy production. Trump is ensuring long-term economy stability. Unemployment is dropping, wages are rising, and businesses are thriving once again. But Trump's vision for America doesn't stop there. His administration is working on historic reforms that will reshape the way Washington operates, holding politicians accountable, eliminating wasteful spending, and making government work for the people, not the elites. And as Trump enters his second term, one question looms: will the changes he's making last beyond his presidency? His supporters believe he's building a new foundation for America, one that will stand for decades. His critics are desperate to stop him, fearing that his policy will shift the balance of power permanently. One thing is certain: Trump is setting the foundation for a new era in American politics. And whether people love him or hate him, he's leaving a legacy that no one will forget. Most presidents make big promises but struggle to deliver. Trump, he delivers fast, then tells people about it. No delays, no political red tape, no waiting for approval from the establishment. He acts fast, moves decisively, and changes the game. And in doing so, he's reshaping the country in ways that no other modern president has. So, is Trump the greatest president ever? He kept major campaign promises, he transformed the economy, he changed global politics, Yet despite all of this, he is the most hated man in the world. But why? Is it because he refuses to play by Washington's rules? Is it because he exposed corruption and holds people accountable? Or is it because he simply just doesn't care what his critics think and does exactly what he says he will do? With all of this above, do you see why he might be the greatest president? I'll be honest, I wasn't always a fan of him, but lately, the more I've heard about his strategies, leadership styles, and the impacts of his policies, the more I started to dig into his biography. And what I found, he's admirable, he's respectable, he does what he says. Most politicians talk, he takes action. Most leaders avoid risk, he thrives in it. And one thing that stands out the most, he is incredibly brave. A lot of people dislike the rich, and I get it. When someone constantly brags about their wealth, it can feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, wealth isn't just luck. It's built on mindsets, risk, and relentless efforts. The richer he is, the more risk he carries, the more money he has lost, the more harder he has had to fight to stay on the top. People assume success comes easily, but it's the failure that tests true leadership. And Trump, he has lost more than the most people could ever imagine. Yes, he always comes back stronger. Why do you think people who hate him so badly? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more deep dive into the political figures shaping our world today. See you in the next video.